Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Zade's Experience. My name is Zade, and today I'm just going to be providing you with a couple of things. Mostly it's going to be a couple of updates on how things have been going since day 15 all the way up to day 24. And there's also a special bonus at the very end. There's a little bit of a recipe for all you guys that are feeling like the diet's a little too mundane. And the good thing is that it's still within the confines of keeping it carnivore. So check it out. As you can hear, everybody celebrating in the back. Right now was the Canelo versus Triple G fight, and that just happened. So since I'm in San Diego, close to Mexican territory, everybody's celebrating. But the main reason here is for the first time since I started, something went wrong with the stomach, and right now I experienced a little bit of diarrhea mid-fight. Things didn't go as planned for me, although it went pretty well for Canelo, but so far the only thing I had was a little bit of steak, sausage, and that was actually it's made out of pork by some of the guys here that live pretty close by. Shout out to Iowa Meats, great sausage, and some shrimp. But other than that, everything's been pretty much the same. Energy's feeling better slowly, and mental clarity is becoming more permanent. There's definitely times when it comes and goes, but right now it's just been permanently super steady. It rarely leaves me that much, but it's definitely something to notice. So today is the 19th day, so we'll check on more on the next couple of days. So guys, this is day 21, and this is for all those of you who don't believe that you can eat kind of as much as you want on this carnivore diet and still manage to lose weight. So for today's breakfast, I am having some coffee with heavy cream, not the sugary kind, just heavy whipping cream. Just a little bit of that. 5 slices of bacon, 3 eggs, 2 beef patties. I'm going to go ahead and scarf those down, and then I'll be hungry whenever I get hungry again. Little diarrhea emergency disappeared right after that night, like within an hour. It just kind of went away, and today I'm perfectly fine. So that was a little bit odd, but hopefully it doesn't continue. That's both for me and the sake of the toilet paper. Today is the 22nd day, and I finally figured out what exactly happened that caused that diarrhea. Apparently it was the heavy whipping cream. I think I was using a little bit too much, or more than my body could handle. I also ended up getting another brand because that might have caused it as well. I switched up the brand a little bit. I think that's what happened, because today in the morning I had some coffee and I added a little bit of it, and again I got the runs right after. I figured that that's the only thing I changed that day of the fight when I got it the first time. So I was adding a little bit more than I usually do. But I think since I took that off, I've been feeling pretty decent. But now it's time to eat. Right now I'm going to be having my dinner, and I'm going to be eating just some ground meat, again from Iowa Meats, the same guys. Again, these guys don't sponsor me or anything, but they have some really good meat, so I got to give a shout out. And then some bacon that I got, so I just kind of tossed it in together, just to make a difference, because some of these meals can get a little bit repetitive. So by switching it up a little bit like that, helps me keep me sane. And sausages. These sausages are made out of thighs, so that's all I have. That and a little bit of cayenne and smoked paprika, and salt and pepper. And that's about as creative as we get with those. But so far, we are doing pretty good. And that's another day added to the books. Day 22 is history. Today is day 24, if I'm not mistaken. These days are kind of just starting to blur together a little bit more since the diet's kind of going super smoothly. I'm really having no problem anymore with it. Nothing at all, to be honest, other than that little hiccup I had with the diarrhea, but found out what it was. In any case, today I decided to add a little bit more on that update so you guys can see maybe an alternate recipe that I think is still within the confines of the whole carnivore diet. Today what I'm going to be cooking is tuna. So I'm going to cook the tuna just like any other piece of steak. I'm going to be cooking it on a cast iron pan, because cast iron pans are great for giving you a really good color on whatever meat it is that you're using. I just love cast iron pans, and they're cheap too. like 30 bucks for a good cast iron pan. And then some of them already come pre-seasoned, and you can go ahead and do some more research on all that. But the brand that I recommend is Lodge. They're awesome. The reason why I wanted to make this video is for all those people that say that this diet can be pretty mundane with just salt and pepper. From what I've read, from what I've understood in a lot of the forums and in a lot of places, even by watching Dr. Sean Baker, I believe he went to In-N-Out Burger in one of his videos, and I know they season their meat pretty heavily. For this, I'm not gonna season these pretty heavily. I'm just gonna be using a couple of ingredients to go ahead and season them. So within the confines of this diet, I'm gonna be using salt, pepper, butter, and thyme. And if you guys want to go ahead and add a little bit of garlic, that is also fine, but don't quote me on that. Literally, I've just been using salt and pepper on everything. So for today, I'm gonna just try it with thyme. The thyme, I bought the actual living one because I'm literally just gonna use it to infuse it with the butter at the end. I'll show you guys how that works. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and first we're gonna pat down our pieces of steak, well, our pieces of fish. I've been eating too much meat. So with the napkin, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and pat these down and take out all the excess water that are on the pieces of fish. That way, when we do put them on the cast iron pan or grill, you can go ahead and do this on the grill as well. They get really nice coloring, and coloring at the end of the day, you'll find out when you put anything on over the heat, is flavor. And we want as much flavor, especially if we're eating the same thing over and over and over again, which I really haven't gotten tired of. The next thing that we're gonna do is now we're gonna start seasoning at will. Remember, this is fish, so fish we season a lot less than we would season meat. Well, in regards to salt, we use a lot less salt on fish usually than we do on red meat. So go ahead and don't over season, or don't use as much salt maybe as you would normally use on a piece of red meat. Also, another quick tip, make sure that the tuna has been out at room temperature for at least 15 to 30 minutes. That way, what tends to happen is the outside part is at room temperature and the bottom part is at room temperature, but the middle is still frozen. If you defrosted this or you thawed this, make sure it's been at room temperature for quite some time. Make sure that it's not super warm, but make sure that it still feels like slightly, you guys get the idea. That way you get an evenly cooked piece of fish or steak. This also applies to any piece of red meat. So make sure you leave it at room temperature for at least 15 to 30 minutes. So once you patted those down, once you season those, make sure you preheat your cast iron pan to a medium to medium high heat. We don't need this screaming hot in comparison to a regular steak. So once you've preheated that for about 5 to 6 minutes, you'll start seeing a little smoke maybe come out of the cast iron pan. That's perfect. What I'm gonna need you to do is throw in that piece of butter. Grab a decent amount of butter. Don't go ahead and put just bunches of butter as well, because I found that using a lot of excessive fat is also what gives me the runs. So be cautious on that one. Might be different for you, but that's my recommendation. And now we're gonna be throwing our pieces of tuna steak in there. So the way we're gonna find out how these are properly cooked is you're gonna have to check the bottom of the tuna steak. As you'll start seeing, it'll start cooking, and the bottom portion of it will start to look brown, and it will slowly start moving up to the upper part or the middle portion of it, which is gonna be about 2 to 3 minutes max. Then you're gonna go ahead and flip it. After those 2 to 3 minutes, you can even time this. Also, this depends on how thick your piece of tuna is. So mine is about 1 inch. Yours may vary depending on how thin. Go ahead and try to gauge it as best as you can. The other side will cook a lot faster. So what I want you to do is once it gets all the way to the middle again, that's gonna be like about a minute. It's gonna be like almost half of the time, or it's gonna be 3/4 of the time that it took to cook the first side. That piece of steak is ready to come out. But now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our leaves of thyme, and we are gonna infuse the thyme flavor with all the pieces of steak. So just grab your thyme, and with the excess butter, all the liquids that are all around the pan itself, go ahead and just grab the thyme and muddle them all around the pan. And then go over your pieces of tuna steak and just kind of graze them with those thyme leaves. and it's gonna give them a very subtle flavor, but it's gonna make a huge difference on the flavor. Now once you're done doing that, go ahead and remove your steaks and enjoy, guys. So guys, thanks for watching another video. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys like this update. Hopefully it was informative. Please go ahead and leave some comments down below. The previous video, it helped out a bunch of people. A lot of people were really interacting. I was really happy with that. And I thought there was a great conversation kind of going on back and forth that kind of needed to happen. This community is fairly new, but I think there's a lot of people that really want it, that really need it, and your guys' comments make the difference. So please make sure to drop a line or two about your guys' experience, or maybe something that you guys might want to tell me, or something that you might want to watch in this channel. But with that being said, guys, this tuna isn't going to eat itself. Zaid out. Peace.